There is an old Norse saying that the best fire is the one that asks nothing of you. It burns without bragging, works without complaint, and stays alive long after you've shut your eyes for the night. That idea may sound poetic, but it came from a very real problem Viking households faced. They lived in longhouses built for survival, not comfort, and when the cold rolled in from the North Sea, a fire that went out too early could mean a miserable night, or worse. So the Vikings developed a heating method that didn't need tending, didn't roar, and didn't waste fuel. It was slow, silent and steady, and when tested today, it still works just as well as it did 1,000 years ago. Most people think of Viking heat as bright flame-blazing logs, horns of mead and dramatic sparks in the rafters. But what kept the longhouse warm until dawn wasn't a blaze at all. What did the real work was a controlled bed of heat, built carefully in layers, so it released warmth for hours without smoke, noise or constant feeding. Once you understand how they built it, you see why archaeologists keep finding the same hearth structure across Old Norse settlements. It wasn't random, it was engineered. The key was understanding how to build a fire that heats but does not burn aggressively. The Viking hearth wasn't just a pile of logs. It was usually a stone-lined pit or shallow trough filled with the right combination of materials placed in the right order. The principle behind it is something modern survivalists still forget. A fire designed for heat is not the same as a fire designed for flame. The Norse wanted embers, not spectacle. They prepared the hearth with a layer of baked stones at the base. These stones, once heated, held warmth much longer than wood and radiated it slowly into the longhouse. On top of the stones they added a bed of ash, and over the ash they placed tightly packed hardwood and peat. Peat was, essential in the regions where it was available. It compressed into dense blocks that burned low and steady, almost like ancient charcoal. When lit correctly, it created a deep ember bed that produced long-lasting warmth with almost no flame at all. Those embers could last 8 to 10 hours without attention, which meant families could, sleep through the coldest part of the night. Anyone wanting to recreate this today can follow the same steps. Build a base of stones inside a fire-safe pit or stove. Let them heat up fully during the early burn. Add a thick layer of ash to insulate the embers. Then, pack hardwood and compressed biomass, such as peat-dense wood chunks or even modern pressed logs, so the fire settles into a long, controlled smoulder rather than, a quick blaze. The strength of the method came from how heat was stored, not really how flames behaved. Unlike open fires that send energy straight into the air, the Viking hearth trapped and released heat through 3 materials: stone, ash, and embers. The stone layer worked like thermal batteries. The ash acted as an insulator to slow the rate of oxygen reaching the fuel. And the ember bed maintained a consistent temperature rather than spiking and dying out. Archaeological studies of longhouse reconstructions show that this type of hearth could raise the interior temperature by several degrees and maintain it with very little fuel. In a time when every log mattered, that efficiency kept families alive through harsh winters. It also prevented smoke buildup, which was another real danger. A loud fire created too much smoke for the low draft-limited longhouses. The ember method avoided that problem entirely. Someone using this method today can, heat a small cabin with just a fraction of the wood that's normally required. Modern folks, they often waste fuel by stoking bright flames instead of banking embers. By copying the Viking layering system, you can actually cut your nighttime wood use in half, while still waking up warm. The method also shows how ancient people worked with their environment rather than fighting it. The Vikings used materials that were naturally abundant in their landscapes. They burned hardwoods when available, driftwood when necessary, and peat where it could be harvested. They didn't rely on cut lumber alone. Their entire heating strategy reflects a mindset: use dense, slow-burning material, add insulating ash, trap heat in stone, and let the environment help do the work. A person living off-grid today can apply this same principle. If you have access to clay soil, you can form clay bricks to replace peat blocks. If you have river stones, you can build the heat-retaining base layer. If you live in a wooded area, you can, gather ash from previous fires and recycle it into the next burn. The steps remain simple and practical. Heat the stones, build the ash bed, add dense fuel, reduce airflow, and, let the core of the fire carry the night. The most valuable lesson is that low-maintenance heat is, honestly, a matter of design, not effort. This method didn't just warm houses, it freed time. A Viking family didn't have to get up every 2 hours to feed the fire. Their heating system was engineered for rest and reliability. For anyone living remotely, camping in cold regions, or preparing for emergencies, this is the kind of method that matters. Build it right once, and it takes care of itself. If you want to test it at home, start small with a backyard fire pit. Build the stone base. Ignite a moderate flame early, then pack dense fuel and let it settle. You'll feel the heat hours after the visible fire dies down. Scale it up in a wood stove or cabin, and you'll understand why this ancient design survived centuries. The Viking hearth method proves that simplicity and engineering often go hand in hand. It is quiet, fuel-efficient, and historically accurate. It works because it respects the fundamentals of heat rather than chasing flames. If you found this guide useful, make sure to subscribe to the channel, share this video with fellow history lovers and survival-minded friends, and help keep practical ancient knowledge alive for the next generation.